So a 12-year-old schoolgirl in rugby was banned from her school's diversity day because she was wearing a dress with the Union flag on, much like the t-shirt that I have on right now. Let's talk about this situation because I have so many thoughts and there are so many things that have become quite clear through this situation in terms of the state of this country and the kind of things that we are told that we shouldn't be talking about and shouldn't be praising, like British culture, which, let's be honest, can stem back to like the Black Lives Matter movement back in 2020. Do you remember that, with all like the Churchill statue getting vandalised and things, and all these things about the empire and how this is all banned and like that side of things being cancelled? We're seeing that trickling into 2025, but in a different way, and we'll talk about this. But yeah, this 12-year-old girl from rugby, she goes and she looks incredible. Wish I had that kind of confidence at 12 years old. She looks great. And she was, you know, she goes into school for this diversity day, which is supposed to be all about inclusion and celebrating different people's cultures, which is, I guess, significant. In terms of the wording, but yeah, she goes in, she gets compliments from her friends, and she's saying that like her form tutor was saying like, oh, are you the, you know, Spice Girl? And she was like, yeah. So it was all great until she sees another teacher who then pulls her into the office saying, you can't wear this, it's your heritage, not your culture, which is crazy. And apparently she wasn't the only one who got this kind of treatment. She said a couple of her friends also were wearing maybe like a similar thing or saying similar things like in their piece or whatever, even though she said they weren't even interested in the piece that she'd written, although we do know what that included now. But the treatment that she got, she's a 12-year-old girl. This was not political in any way. This was a day where, you know, she wanted to celebrate being British, and, you know, she said this in the interview, which I'm sure we've all seen by now, where she was like, yeah, I wanted to celebrate like the music and just like being British, and it was like wearing this dress like made me feel really proud to be British, which it should do. Like whenever we wear the flag, whenever we celebrate the flag and celebrate being British, like that's something that we should all be feeling. It's proud, and that's what school in the UK should be encouraging, is people being proud to be British, you know what I mean? And like, yeah, she wasn't even talking about like politics or anything, because again, she's 12, and you know, the piece that she wrote, the little like essay, the only thing that could be deemed maybe political, even though it was just a really good point to make, is that, you know, she was saying like, yes, it's good to include other people's cultures, and you know, that's important because it's interesting, and you know, but also sometimes it can feel like that's the only thing that's being highlighted. And you know, I think being British and our culture in this country should also be a highlight and be sometimes the centre of attention, which is so true. Very wise from a 12-year-old girl, you know what I mean? But again, the school weren't even interested in what she'd even written. Like, the only reason we know why is because it was released to you know, the press during all of these interviews that she's been doing. And I just think it's so blatantly clear that being British and just the flag, for some reason, has been so associated with far-right ideas and far-right just anything. Just this idea and concept of things being far-right for just being proud to be British for some reason. Whereas the cultures that we want to be celebrating, you know, in society, and just especially with the education system, you know, with the new head of Ofsted, I'm sure we all have seen the picture, we know its origins and all these things, and in terms of that, it is quite clear now that the types of cultures that they want to be encouraging is the type of things where cousin marriages are still allowed, child marriages are still allowed. We've got MPs of that culture standing up in Parliament, advocating and defending this stuff when we're trying to have conversations about it being banned, which we should do because it's disgusting and it's incredibly archaic and doesn't belong in Western society, which we are as Great Britain. We are a progressive society, we are a free society, and unfortunately the cultures that are being infiltrated into our society and praised, as has been evident just throughout recent years, but especially with this incident, which again involves a 12-year-old girl. Very, very important to mention that. The fact that she wasn't being political. She's a 12-year-old girl who just wanted to be proud to be British, wearing a brilliant dress. But instead, she was told that she couldn't. And I'm sure that, you know, the school have come out and said, you know, we're really proud of our diversity, which we all know what that means. And yeah, just that point of why are we praising these other cultures, which, okay, if you're doing it in a non-political way, but we have to be objective and see the other sides of it and see what's going on underneath all this. It's very, very, very clear what is going on, and those who want to be naysayers, you be naysayers, but you're blind. You're blind and you're deaf to what's going on if you can't see blatantly what this exposes about our country and where it's going and why we need to be fighting back against this. And praise to Tommy Robinson, who reached out to that girl and her dad, who then invited her to actually go and speak at the 13th of September event that's happening, which I think is great. You know, obviously we've praised Tommy on this channel before, and I think it's going to be a great rally. Again, if I can make it, I can make it. I've said this before on my channel, and I know this isn't my normal format for my podcast episodes, by the way. Sometimes I do these where a little bit more straight back if I just want to talk to the camera about something that's really important and what's happened in the news. And yeah, I just wanted to make this video because it was so blatantly obvious, and it's not the first time that something like this has happened where we feel like being British is cancelled, or saying you're proud to be British, or you're proud of a certain part of maybe our history, even if it is like the Empire and stuff, which I mentioned, you know, it's started there, I guess, and then has now managed to trickle itself into this, just shape-shifted a little bit in terms of like what is being prioritised and why being British is being cancelled and censored and that kind of thing. But it's still the same sort of idea and the same effect and the same things that we're seeing. But when it's affecting children and we're telling children no, that's crazy. And in a way, the piece that girl wrote and the way she was speaking so confidently in front of the press gave me some hope that, yeah, there are certain kids who are being maybe brought up by certain parents who are patriotic and are saying like, don't be scared to be proud to be British, which is brilliant, and we should all be saying this to our kids, you know. And in a way she gives me hope, as I say, because this is the kind of thing that we need more young people to grow up thinking, and the more we can drive them away from the far left loonies and that side of like TikTok and things. And I'm sure this girl probably has TikTok because she's 12, and a lot of these girls do, although I don't really agree with it because there's a heck of a lot of stuff, especially that young people get involved in with the algorithm, and like certain sides of the algorithm of TikTok that just are not child appropriate whatsoever, and there's no real like checks around it, and it's all very scandalous. You know, there's a whole conversation we could have about like kids' social media, which I'm sure we could probably have on an episode of the podcast in the future. But you know, in a way, again, this brings me hope, and if she can stay away from that side of things as she gets older, you know, she's 12, like she's just gonna get sucked more and more into social media and like her peers and all these things. But again, she said she wasn't the only one who kind of got taken away and told to change if they were wearing something like with a flag on, or like just said that they were, you know, proud to be British. She wasn't the only one, so if she's got other friends as well who are in that same mindset of, again, really innocently because she's 12, being like, yeah, I'm really proud to be British, I'm really proud of this culture and this country, then that's great. We need people who don't hate this country, we need people who are still proud to be British and proud to live here and proud to be born here, which is obviously really important that we're born here. But yeah, we need more people who are proud to be British, because without those people, the patriotism movement can't go on and can't survive. So back to Tommy Robinson, again, this was incredible that he managed to do this for this girl who, again, is obviously being brought up right. And yeah, this whole situation again just exposed a massive problem with this country that has been evident for a while, but has just been incredibly highlighted with this incident in the education system. Again, we know the education system in the UK is flawed in many ways, and with the head of like the board at the moment, it's just, yeah, there's a lot of very valid concerns that could be brought up there. So yeah, let me know all of your thoughts about the situation in the comments. Again, this is just another point to say, be patriotic and keep this movement going, and you know, the little bits of hope that we can get, which become bigger and bigger as the more that we see people rising up to patriotism. It's fantastic. And yeah, next week, or whenever I upload next, will be the normal format of the podcast where I'm doing my makeup and I'm talking about whatever I'm talking about. But sometimes I do just sit in front of the camera and have a bit of a rant, a bit of an event, a little bit of a chat about something that's happened recently, and this just felt like it was more appropriate to talk about in this format. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you guys in the next one, and leave all your thoughts about this situation in the comments. The fight lives on. Be proud to be British.